This gentleman is Lex Rainey. He is a former school principal and Gilmer County School Superintendent. He is also the chair of the Greater Gilmer Authority and former Chamber of Commerce chair.
And currently chair the Joint Development Authority for the Greater Gilmer Authority, JDA.
So Mr. Rainey chairs the Greater Gilmer JDA. Let's go to their website and see what they're all about. The Greater Gilmer Joint Development Authority serves as the official economic development agency of Gilmer County. The Joint Development Authority offices are in the Gilmer County Chamber of Commerce building. The Executive Director, Kent Sanford, serves as the official economic development point of contact for Gilmer County. There's not much else here. Let's click on the link to go to the Greater Gilmer Development Authority page. Okay, this is a very basic page, not a lot of information there. Talks about thousands of acres being protected and so forth. Who created this mess? Okay, Shepherd's Loft, not very impressive. Let's see. Let's click on the About link. About Gilmer County. Let's see. Yeah, once again, not very impressed. Okay. Let's see. Let's click on the Board of Directors and see who they are. Looks like the Callahans from over in East Ellijay, Ellen Davenport, Al Hoyle, Mayor of Ellijay. Penelope Marshall, that's John Marshall's wife. Charlie Paris, Commissioner. Lex Rainey, who is the gentleman we just saw in the video. And Kent Sanford, Executive Director.
It's been a privilege to have the opportunity to serve in all those capacities. You were asking what are some things that I think are most important, the work of the Chamber in the last few years, and I think one of them is the outgrowth of the Catalyst Plan for Economic Development. It was actually the brainchild of Travis Crouch during Travis's time as chairman, and through that came about the Joint Development Authority. The purpose of the Catalyst Group was a public-private sector, and we brought together people within the community, both public and private. Through that came the idea of forming a Joint Development Authority. And through the efforts of the Gilmer County government, the City of Ellijay, and the City of East Ellijay, they went together to form the Joint Development Authority, which focuses on the development of businesses within our community and the seeking of future businesses in our community, whether it be housing, businesses, home businesses, or storefronts, whatever. So that is up and running now. We feel good about that and the direction there.
Okay, that is the origin of the JDA and the Catalyst Group and from the perspective of Lex Rainey. Let's hear it from the Joint Development Director, Kent Sanford. The following video comes from a February 2018 network luncheon.
We'll take a look at it, but Travis Crouch and Paige Green get credit for this visual. They put it together about 4 years ago. They put it together as our Catalyst planning process was coming to a close. It was a process that took place, like I said, about 4 years ago, and it spanned about 2 years as we went through that process. And if you could see that, there's a box up there that talks about the Economic Development Council. Well, that was the proposed entity. In reality, it turned out to be the Joint Development Authority. But what is it? I was visiting a few days ago with Dondi over at the Carter K Bike Shop. Handed him my card, and that was the question he asked me. Joint Development Authority. What's that, Kent? And I looked right in front of us, and he had one of his mountain bikes sitting there. I said, well, Dondi, it's kind of like this. You take a look at the wheel on that bicycle. It's got a lot of different spokes. With a bicycle, you have two wheels. Those two wheels are working together, yet independent. One steers the direction you go in. The other brings momentum to what you're trying to do. And we all need to understand that economic development is a lot like that. It's a collaborative effort.
Now might be a good time to break in and say Kent Sanford's economic development bicycle, while it has steering and momentum, lacks brakes.
Leaders need something to do.
Which is
That's
part
just
of the
part
problem.
of the nature. If you're a leader, you want something to do. You want to be involved. You want to make things happen. You want to impact your community. And as a community, we need to look for opportunities to put all of those leaders to work. That ties right back into the next element, community development. Community development is a unified vision, a strategic plan. It's inclusive of all the stakeholders. It begins with the public sector, and you see that up on the board if you can see real well. But it also includes the private sector, and it's locally driven. It's about us. It's for us. It's unique to us. You don't just take it off of a shelf from another community and say, this is our vision for Gilmer County. That don't fit. And it should be developed by us.
This is where Travis Crouch's Catalyst Group Vision for Gilmer County comes in. But wait, that's not all.
So I haven't talked a whole lot about the private sector. You probably can't see that on the board either. But stay tuned for that. Several of us over the last few years have been quietly involved in the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation. And while that has a similar name to the JDA, it actually preceded the JDA by a number of years. We put the foundation in place about 2011, so a few years earlier than the whole Catalyst plan. And that is a vehicle that we will roll out before long to help involve our community on the private sector side in having an impact for economic development.
Let's get a brief introduction to the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation, but we'll get into more detail later. Okay, so we can see the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation was not created in 2011, it was created in 2007, well before Travis Crouch's Catalyst Group. Board are Kent Sanford, Penelope Marshall, and Penelope Marshall. Penelope Marshall is the wife of Post 2 Commissioner John Marshall. All right, we can see the formation and annual registrations. Okay, let's click on business formation and take a look at that. Okay, so we can see that it was formed in 2007. Download that document. And, okay, Doug Pritchett, he's on the school board and was on the board of New Horizons Bank with Kent Sanford and Kent Sanford. So they started this foundation in 2007. Now, what was the foundation called? See what it's called now, but what was it called before? Download this document. And we can see that it was called the New Horizons Foundation. So in 2007, New Horizons Foundation was created, and in 2011, the name was changed to Greater Gilmer Community Foundation. Okay, and there's the date and Ken Sanford's signature. So this business development aspect of the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation was created long before Travis Crouch's Catalyst plan. This was a foundation created by Doug Pritchett and Kent Sanford while still at the New Horizons Bank. But I'll have to get into that in another video. not this one. Before we go into Travis Crouch, let's hear Greater Gilmer Joint Development Authority board member Alan Davenport on the creation of the Catalyst Group and the JDA.
Chairman, because there was a lot going on that year.
There was quite a bit. We had we'd finished up Catalyst a year and a half or two before this, and so we were still having a lot of different things that Catalyst had kind of incubated, and those had started. And the Harrison Park was one of them that was finished, and there were several meetings along with it, and a lot of different groups that participated in it. That was a chamber initiative. There were still a lot of things going on with that. Plus, we were with the chamber. We were doing a lot of the joint development authority things and setting up a new joint development authority. So there was a lot of meetings with that. Plus the regular chamber task and agenda to go along with it.
So now we've established that Lex Rainey, Alan Davenport, Penelope Marshall, Kent Sanford, they all work together, and along with Travis Crouch and other stakeholders to create this joint development authority for the purpose of economic development. Kent Sanford was elected the first director of this new development authority. I feel like we've got a pretty good foundation established now to understand the Catalyst Group and the next part, which goes into who is Travis Crouch and what was this Catalyst Group's vision for Gilmer County. All right, so let's dive in. So this is from the Travis Crouch 2014 website. This is when Travis was running for Post 2 Commissioner in 2014. This is after the Catalyst Group. This was after his tenure as the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and getting into that run. So he'll go into this on this page, details in his own words and with newspaper articles and his own writings, what the Catalyst Group was and what their ambitions were. Hard stop here. I feel like it's important to say that I do not know Travis Crouch, and everything that I've ever heard back from anybody has always been positive about him as a person. So none of this content is meant to disparage him or be a reflection of him or his personal character in any way. This video is just to be informative and explain to the folks in Gilmer County what role Mr. Crouch played in creating the vision for Gilmer County and how we got to the point that we are today with economic development and growth in Gilmer County. This website is a website that Travis created when he had left the Chamber of Commerce and was looking to join the Board of Commissioners as Post 2 Commissioner. Okay, so he is giving his CV here. That he's got a bachelor in business administration, and he's married to Shirley and his daughter Whitney. Graduated from school here in Gilmer County. They live in Cherry Log. He went to seminary, so he's got a degree in business. He served as director of the Gilmer Christian Learning Center from 2002 to 2009. So that lets me know that he was a friend of Kent Sanford's long before he became chairman of the board at the Chamber of Commerce. Okay. Economic Development Board of Director, Board, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he served as a leader of the Catalyst Group, a private public sector team dedicated to making Gilmer County the best that it can be. He was on the Apple Festival Board of Directors. Let's slow your scroll, Kimberly, slow your scroll. Management Sciences, Theology, Leadership Gilmer class, that's a chamber class. Regional Development, seems like he has amassed a great amount of experience in leadership. He was part of getting Gilmer designated an Appalachian Trail Town, and he lists that there are 18 members in this group, 9 from the public and 9 from the private sector. And, okay, so we know how many people were involved. We don't know who they all are. All right, so let's read some of these articles he's written. These are articles that he's linked in his own website. The hyper-abbreviated Cliff's Notes on this is that there was a Alabama town that experienced a boll weevil devastation of biblical proportions, and how we in Gilmer can learn from their story and of economic downturn and responding to crisis. So, he thinks that we should look at the enormous potential of the area and take steps to realize this potential. Okay. We've got an airport, we've got climate, we've got a 515 corridor, we've got 52 and the 282, and lucky us, we are within a day's drive of a huge segment of the U.S. population. Got natural beauty and rivers and boating and mountain landscapes and trails and we're the mountain bike capital. We have, so he's apple houses and pick your own operations and organic farms and vineyards, and he's touting all of the virtues and great things about Gilmer County with Fort Mountain State Parks, the extensive inventory of short-term rentals. That was back, I guess, when short-term rentals were good, right? And we hear time and time again people from Grand Cayman and England and other places saying that when they come here, they can't wait to come back again and again and figure out a way to make Gilmer County their home. Well, it appears that the Joint Development Authority has gotten on board with that concept to help people make this their home, to join in and enjoy all of the things that make Gilmer County so wonderful. My apologies for the very rough panning and moving and zooming in. I hope I'm not making you all motion sick with all this. Okay, let's read another article he's written. From Crisis to Prosperity, How the Chamber of Commerce Helps. All right, just to clarify, this is a Times Courier article. All right, so he goes into intensive efforts to stimulate the local economic activity in the form of attracting tourists and new businesses, as well as efforts to bolster the health of existing businesses. In January of this year, I began a 3-year term with the Gilmer County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Before I began serving in this board, I must confess that I had seriously underestimated both the value and functions of this fine organization. First and foremost, he has learned the local Chamber of Commerce is the principal economic development arm of Gilmer County. From time to time in the past, the county has employed someone to head up economic development efforts in Gilmer, but under the current structure, that responsibility falls in the local chamber. In general, the efforts of the Chamber of Commerce can be summed up. So targeted media, print, online billboards, social media, Facebook, and Twitter. Advertising efforts, carefully selected to target individuals and families whose demographics, location, and even interests make them likely candidates to visit our area. Okay, those things are fine as far as visitors and guests and attracting them here. This approach is constantly evaluated and tweaked to reflect the current environment. The Gilmer and Fannin counties jointly hosted a group of travel writers from across the United States and Canada to write articles about our lovely area, and will generate additional interest amongst tourists. Let's see. Promoting tourism, working to promote health of local businesses. We went into that already. finally, the Gilmer Chamber is actively recruiting new businesses to locate in our county. In many cases, these businesses are the brainchild of local residents. The local chamber understands the importance of attracting businesses. The Chamber is actively fostering relationships with state, regional, and utility entities and educating them on what the Gilmer has to offer. Not a whole heck of a lot going on with this article. Okay, let's go to the next link. All right, this is From Crisis to Prosperity. It looks like part 3. He goes further into preserving natural charm, and sounds good to me. And importance of shopping locally. That sounds great. Okay, so this is a nice little article. I think it's really good for what the Chamber of Commerce should be doing here in Gilmer County, which is basically supporting local businesses and encouraging people to shop locally. I'll be darned if that last part didn't blow up the whole article. We live in a beautiful area with great climate and wonderful people. Our area has virtually unlimited potential for sustainable prosperity. There's a nice word, sustainable prosperity, that complements the natural setting. There are several groups and individuals who are hard at work to market this area to tourists and corporations as well. There are efforts to increase the appeal of this area with new trails and other amenities. If we all pull together, support one another, and get involved where and when we can all enjoy a prosperous future together in this little slice of heaven called Gilmer County, and we can invite all the developers in and grow faster than our infrastructure can keep up with. Okay, I added that last part myself, but it's true. Moving on, let's go to where we are now. Okay, Carter's Lake, Kusawati River, pastoral settings, vineyards. Oh, that's back when we had our second vineyard come online. Woohoo! Burgeoning agritourism sector is undergirded by more traditional farms producing poultry, livestock, timber, and apples. Boy, how far have we gotten away from that since then? Oh, but with all of the hiking trails and the apples and the farm to table and the farming and the mountain biking and all of that, alas, in spite of all these marvelous attributes, our community is not experiencing prosperity. Now, in his previous writings, he talked about the quality of life and how everybody wanted to be here from all around the globe. I have a hard time believing that it's just a coincidence that the tone changed at the time that he was running for post 2 commissioner. So this Catalyst Group vision was developed, and it was all positive in marketing Gilmer County. And that turned into all these terrible things that Gilmer County needed to have this catalyst plan implemented. So there was something happening between the creation of the catalyst plan and his running for post 2 commission. And that, I believe, is why he ran for post 2 commissioner, to make sure that this catalyst plan was implemented. Now, I'm not saying that was a nefarious intent. I'm saying that that was a motivator. Before we go into Travis's vision for Gilmer County, let's talk about what a catalyst is. All right, so it's a person or a thing that precipitates an event. It is an impetus. It is the thing, something that causes something else to happen. And in this instance, what is it causing to happen? The vision. This vision, this imagination, this vision for a future. It's a mental picture they created. It is what provided them with a sense of purpose. Which brings us to Travis's vision for Gilmer County. So he sees attributes. Apple houses organic farms and additional agricultural production. he talks about poultry processing and Appalachian Trail, how it begins here in Gilmer, and how there's trout fishing in Carter's Lake. And once again, he's talking about all the wonderful things that makes Gilmer County what it is and makes it a desirable place to live. Here, it's funny that he talks about there's an element in our community that does not want to grow, that feels new development, investment are not needed or welcome. Well, this, I would say, back in 2014 was well before Keep Gilmer Rural was in place. This has been a common thread, a common feeling amongst residents of Gilmer County that a lot was happening, a lot of change was occurring, and it really wasn't welcome. Now, nobody says, probably then, and I know we don't say now, that all growth is bad, that economic development is bad. But I think there's a reasonable, this is a reasonable pushback from the community, because all of these things that have made Gilmer an exceptional place to live were being envisioned. This vision was being cast, and this catalyst group being created was going to become the impetus to really push us over the edge in economic development and drive us away from what we loved about this community. Okay, going on. There were several things that were identified as potential impediments to the Catalyst Group's vision. And one of them was the debt of the county, which was very excessive between the courthouse and the library and the offices and so on. So there was a lot of debt that was incurred. And then another thing was that infrastructure wasn't sufficient, so they needed to expand the utilities that would attract investors, business owners. They can't build businesses without infrastructure, right? And so that gets us into the next part. So since at the time we didn't have much of a water and sewer system, they thought about attracting businesses that didn't have heavy water and sewer needs. So who is to say that the next Bill Gates is not looking for a quiet community near a major airport to locate his emerging business? Why couldn't Gilmer County host something like that? Now, these are the words of Travis Crouch, not my own. Reading on, I look forward to seeing the Catalyst Group's plan fully implemented so we can proactively market our community to the upcoming Bill Gates of the world. I believe that intentional cooperative efforts like this are our best hope to recognize a brighter tomorrow. How about that? Bill Gates in our community would help us to recognize a brighter tomorrow. Now, I can't be the only Gilmer County citizen who's alarmed by that statement. How do we go from families at apple orchards and agritourism and mountain biking to Bill Gates? That's a huge leap. Okay, let's move on. Click on the next link. Some more of how Paige and him agreed that the chamber had done a terrific job in promoting tourism, and it was time to do more. It was time to bring in help. So it looks to me like they decided to bring in this group called the Pendleton Group. So that's where the idea came from. After much discussion regarding improving economic development efforts on behalf of the community, we presented to the Chamber Board of Directors the idea of having the Pendleton Group come and facilitate a series of meetings between the public and private sectors of Gilmer County. I wrote an article about the initiative for the Times-Courier, which is available here, Catalyst Plan Travis. In the article, he says the latest initiative by the Chamber is the development of the Catalyst for Prosperity team. according to the Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. Oh, here's his own definition. One definition of a catalyst is an agent that provokes or speeds significant change or action. This is precisely what we hope to accomplish through the work of this newly formed group. The Catalyst for Prosperity team is comprised of 18 individuals from our community from both the public and private sectors. The team makeup was crafted. Some of these words I just crafted to include representatives of each sector that contributes to the health of the local business environment with an eye toward new business investment. Okay. They want to identify obstacles and create a plan to overcome them and make the community more attractive to outside business investors. Oh, like maybe Bill Gates, for instance. The group will examine our strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. It's also the hope of the chamber, as he's still speaking as a chamber chairman, that this team effort from the public and private sectors. I sure haven't heard much about who these other people are in this group, but I'd like to know who these various stakeholders in Gilmer County are. That is to say, with the exception of Kent Sanford, Travis Crouch, Lex Rainey, Gary Davenport, Penelope Marshall, and the others mentioned previously in this video. And here we have the mention of this group, Pendleton Group, once again. It's a consultant team whose mission it is to help communities become more attractive to new business investment. Stay tuned for updates on this exciting initiative as the team moves forward with this work. Okay, next link. Catalyst Group to help development. Members of the newly formed Catalyst for Prosperity team met for the first time beginning Friday, March 29th to begin discussing ways to stimulate business to investment in the local community, initiated by the Gilmer Chamber of Commerce, which we've established. Okay, moving on. Catalyst help. Okay. Go down, scroll down. The group plans to identify 3 to 5 areas in which the community can improve, recommend solutions, and develop overall marketing strategy for promoting Gilmer County. They're looking for potential threats concerning economic development and so forth. All right, moving on. So here we go. They have, at this point, as of February 28th, 2014, the full Catalyst Group and was ready to present its plan. So let's see what its plan was. Okay, so reading the article, the Catalyst Group identified 3 areas of focus, not the 5 they'd hoped: creating a cohesive marketing plan, business creation and retention, and tourism development. Initiated by the Gilmer Chamber of Commerce and with additional financial support coming from the Economic Development Authority and Greater Gilmer Community Foundation, the Catalyst Group consisted of 18 individuals from the community's private and public sectors. Okay, so some money came in to make sure that this Catalyst plan was developed, and that some of that money came from ECDEV and the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation, which we know is Kent Sanford. So he helped to fund this. Okay, members of the Pendleton Group of Atlanta-based consulting firm facilitated the meetings and helped participants identify weak points in the community and develop solutions for turning these areas into strengths. The process began in late March with a brainstorming session about the assets, weaknesses, and so on. Business creation and retention. I think this is where the core comes in, and the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation. Okay. Let's read on. The creation of a simplified and centralized business creation and retention process, including but not limited to the creation of a roadmap to starting a business, a concierge service for new investors, and a business-friendly, customer service-focused initiative. The emphasis of this project would be streamlining the process of navigating various agencies and regulations in order to... Okay, so this is definitely core, and this must be what Kent Sanford was referring to that they would get into after this core plan was implemented. Going on, this area of focus could also potentially feed into the development of a business incubator CORE, which is Collaboration on River's Edge, which was another project discussed by the Catalyst team. The goal of The goal of an incubator would be to help participants successfully navigate the minefield of starting a business and give them a healthy start. This would be achieved by helping minimize the initial risk of starting a business by providing inside support and mentors. Initial overhead costs could also be reduced by grouping several businesses in one building to share the cost of office, warehouse, and reception space. Yes, I was correct. CORE. Let's fast forward to the next link. Gilmer Catalyst unveils economic development plan. This is March 6, 2014. More of the same, explaining what the Catalyst group is, and nothing much new. I'll leave this here and you can read through. It's really just another iteration of the same thing we've read in several articles already. Would you look at that Ellijay Bank stuff? Anyway, that's not our video today. Let's move on. Here we go. Something new. Collaborative plan introduced. In a nutshell, the Catalyst plan outlined at the library by Crouch calls for the hiring of an economic development professional to work at strengthening existing businesses as well as attracting new businesses and business investments for our community. The plan, which included an organizational chart and annual budget and a job description for the ED professional, which is economic development professional, calls for the pooling of resources from the private sectors to fund and oversee the economic development activities of the hired professional who will be housed in the Gilmer Chamber facility. I'm going to go ahead and assume that is going to be what became the Development Authority, and Kent Sanford is the director of that. Okay, moving on. The plan calls for the creation of an 8-member Economic Development Council, which will consist of representatives from Gilmer County, Ellijay, East Ellijay, EDA, DDA, Water Authority, Gilmer Chamber, and the Greater Gilmer Foundation. Okay, so that is probably going to go back to that board that we started the video with. This council will then have the responsibility of hiring and providing oversight of the ED professional. The funding for the effort will be shared responsibility of Gilmer County, Ellijay, East Ellijay, the Greater Gilmer Foundation. The daily operational oversight and office space for the hired ED professional will be provided by the chamber. Okay, that's going to be your core. The group enthusiastically embraced a conceptual plan for the fine points of the plan and timetable for its possible implementation. Additional discussion involved various strategies for hiring the right individual to fill the ED professional position. The next steps are, at the end of the questions and discussion, Crouch asked the group if it was willing to move forward with the specifics of the plan. All parties were agreeable, so the deadline of April 16th was suggested as a meeting time for a group consisting of representatives from each of the 8 contributing agencies. The initial task of the group will be to finalize the funding and hiring strategy for the initiative and then set the plan in motion. The plan in its current state is not completely fleshed out, but it does represent a major step forward. Okay, hopefully we'll begin to see this fruit of this exciting new initiative. And finally, the Economic Development Plan. Crouch discusses the hiring an economic development professional to be housed within the chamber facility, whose work will be focused on existing business retention and expansion as well as business recruitment. He introduces the idea that there is an organizational chart and how the resources would be pooled and so forth. Well, okay, let's take a look at this organizational chart. Here we go. Well, this is interesting. Monetary investment would come from Gilmer County, Ellijay, East Ellijay, Ellijay DDA, Ellijay Gilmer County Water and Sewerage Authority, and the Greater Gilmer Community Foundation, or Greater Gilmer Foundation. Okay, we got that, but this part's the part that, the EDA would continue to serve as the legal entity to make deals happen using their authority to float bonds, etc., to meet specific infrastructure needs for an investor. They hooked up Yoga Risinen, and I'm sure they would hook up Bill Gates too if he decided to flatter Mr. Crouch. I'm super curious about this Pendleton group. We're going to find out who they are. I clicked on this earlier, but I didn't go far into it. Let's see what projects they've worked on. Looks like Cherokee County. Let's get out of this. Let's go see. That's not going to get us very far. What else? I want to see who their people are. I want to see who your people are. I want to see who you're scamming. Okay, who we are. Well, aren't they polished? Okay, let's go find a different route. We work with public and private entities to drive economic growth. We guide your company through important decisions. Strategic planning. That's not what I want. This just looks like fits perfect for Gilmer County. Global energy thought leaders. U.S. Oh, look at the Bidens and the Trudeaus. Thought leaders. Diverting asylum seekers. I just can't. How is this a good match for Gilmer County? This is the catalysts. No wonder they're talking about Bill Gates and Justin Trudeau and global energy partnerships. Oh my Lord. Optimizing Canada-Mexico economic partnerships, global platforms, relationship diplomacy. Oh my word. Okay. 2 former ambassadors joined the Pendleton group. I've had just about enough of this nonsense. Let's go and see who our people are. Do business agree. Let's get out of here. Meet the team. Let's see who the team members are. Takashi. These are the team members. These would be the fine folks that advised our Gilmer Chamber and our Joint Development Authority. And Mr. Crouch, who would later become, who was our chairman of the board at the chamber and would later become our Post 2 commissioner. Okay, let's see what Mr. Takashi is. He is in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I don't see why he wouldn't fit into Gilmer County. Second International Economic Advancement. Oh, my word. Okay. Takashi is way out of our league up here. Oh, my goodness. Let's look at Mr. Zimmerly. He's in Foreign Ministry. Oh, yes, Foreign Ministry is perfect for Gilmer County. Real estate broker in Georgia, business development services, architectural engineering, city council. Okay, at least he's more in line, but he's way overqualified to handle the deal up here in Gilmer County. Let's go on to the next person. Louise Blouse was Canada's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations. Senior diplomat. Oh, boy. Charles Shapiro. Mr. Shapiro, let's take a look at you. You're an ambassador, joined Pendleton Group, the U.S. State Department, ambassador to Venezuela, as acting assistant secretary of the Western Hemisphere, and coordinator for Cuban affairs. Sure, you should decide what the future of Gilmer County looks like. I think. Al Nash, let's see who you are, sir. He's a lifelong Atlantan. Oh, community economic development for the community. Okay. Okay, so he worked for Mercedes-Benz and Microsoft and oh my word. All right, so you all get the idea of what the Pendleton Group is. I'm going to end this video here. I really don't know what else I can say. But our Joint Development Authority, our Economic Development Board, has partnered local people, Lex Rainey, Alan Davenport, Travis Crouch, Kent Sanford, and other members of this board, Penelope Marshall, have partnered with a global organization, a lobbying group, to market and to create a strategic marketing plan for Gilmer County. And that marketing plan does not exclude Bill Gates. I'm not being histrionic here. I'm not making anything up. You've seen it all for yourselves. You've seen what I've seen. We are in big trouble. Now that you've come to the end of the video, I encourage you to go back and watch it again, knowing what you know now. And thank you for listening.